So today I'm talking to Lisa, who is a primary school teacher and have been for
18 years
18
now,
years.
yeah.
Wow, okay. So hopefully you'll have some good tales and good experience in regards to mental health and
Definitely.
the development of it over the last 18 years or so.
Yeah.
So 18 years as a teacher. Have you always been a teacher?
No, when I left school, I did hairdressing and beauty work.
Okay.
And then when I was 19, I fell pregnant with my first son.
Okay.
So I was sort of married with 2 kids by 22.
Very young.
Yeah, very young. And from that, I was a stay-at-home. I was very lucky that I could stay at home with them.
Okay.
And then when my youngest, Jack, was 3 years old, I went back and did an access course, which was like A-level kind of level. So I did that, and I passed all of them. And I've always wanted to work with kids, but I never thought I was good enough.
Okay.
I just didn't think I was good enough to be able to pass the degree and do things like that. So then I decided to do a classroom assistant course.
Okay.
Sorry, before that, I've missed a job out. Before that, the week Jack started school when he was 4, I got a job in Woolies on the kids' clothes.
Right,
just for pocket money for to go on holiday with and things like that. And then when I'd been there 3 years, I did a classroom assistant course.
Okay.
And I worked 2 years as a classroom assistant. I retook my maths during that time because you had to have maths and English O-level, and I hadn't passed my maths, messing about at school. And then I got into university, Northumbria University, when I was 32. So I was like the immature student. When I was 32, and I graduated when I was 35.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, and that little journey there, you know, you're saying immediately sort of straight away, I didn't think I was good enough.
Yeah.
So you lacked a bit of confidence.
I did.
Like
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I don't know why. Because, I mean, I was in top band at school.
Yeah.
But I think there was always people better than us.
Okay.
And I think no matter what I did, I might have been good at it, but I may come second. Or things like that.
Okay.
You know, I didn't sort of like, I was never the best at something like some was. I was always just that one under or a few under.
Yeah.
And I think when I came to do the exams, the teachers were striking at the time.
Okay.
In May last year at school. And, you know, I had never been off a day in the comp, you know, and you were turning up and there was no teachers there for lessons or anything like that.
Okay.
And it did have an effect on our exams, our learning.
Absolutely.
You know, so I didn't do as well as I wanted to. I still passed some, but I didn't do as well as I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I remember I did go for an interview to do nursery nursing.
Okay.
And I kind of upmarketed myself a little bit in the quarters out when they were asking us questions.
Right. Okay.
You know, and I was like, damn.
So the blag didn't work.
The blag didn't work. That's like kind of caught us out, you know. So my next thing was hairdressing and beauty, which is what I did. And I worked after that. And like I said, then I fell with my eldest, who's sort of now 32. And then I had me second son. And like I say, stay at home mum. And then I decided, no, I want to do something else with me. Yeah. With me time.
So the period where you were stay-at-home mum was a nice period for you, or was it?
Well, me then husband, he was at university.
Okay.
So obviously money was tight, but I would say we were happy then.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, I kind of just looked after the kids. I sorted the kids so he could, be able to do his studying, because at the end of the day, this was our future.
Yeah.
As a family, him doing that studying.
Okay.
So he did that and he passed that. And you know, got his first job. And it meant, you know, we started having this wage coming in.
Right.
And so much so that we were able to, you know, our first house we were able to afford to buy on York Avenue. You know,
Okay.
I mean, it needed done up and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you know, he had a good job, so we went for some sort of like council house renting to that. You know, buying that house and doing it from top to bottom. But you know, unfortunately, within that, up until So, well, got married 91, and then by 2006 we split up. So I married 15 years, together 18 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So going back to what, like I say, when he was at university and things like that, I was the one that supported the kids and made sure they were all right and what they did and everything. And I mean, I don't know how much you want us to talk about that side of things, but looking back from then, he was controlling.
Okay.
And I'm a strong person, and I don't let anybody sort of get the better of us, and I always give as good as I got.
Yeah.
But I think when you're living in that situation, sometimes you don't quite see it for yourself. And lots of people afterwards would say to us, I didn't like the way he spoke to you. I didn't like the way he did this. I mean, I'm not saying I was perfect, but that was just other people's version of what they saw, you know. And yeah, there was, you know, different things over the years. And I remember at one point being really, really down and wanting tablets. And he convinced us to flush them down the toilet.
Right.
You know,
okay.
And I didn't take them for like depression or anxiety, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And when I think back to that time, I think I was in a constant high state of anxiety in that marriage and with the kids.
Okay.
And I don't know if people can relate to it. And I don't know if it was when, I'm going to sound like probably like a psycho, but when the kids were little, you know, when you just got that urge and that want, you just want to protect them and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I would be chopping food for tea, and in my head it would be like, what happens if I turn around and trip up and the bin comes forward and I've got a knife in my hand and I hurt them? Like things that would never happen were constantly in the back of my mind. What happens if I go over the Newcastle Bridge and the car veers off the bridge and I've got the kids in the car with us? Like, how am I going to save them? Like, I just was in this constant high state of anxiety of like what ifs all of the time. And I guess living with that mustn't have been, you know, very good as well. But I also don't feel that he helped towards it as well.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went to university, and he was very encouraging, you know, get yourself to university, so I did. But then as soon as I went to university, we had a very traditional role where I was the one that did the housework, did the cooking, the cleaning and all that sort of thing. He's the one that went out to work. Up to the point where I remember once it was a works do when I was working at Woolies, and the boss at the time was married to a guy who had been in the army, and he was being a postie. And my ex-husband did something in like software development, digital systems engineering, that sort of thing.
Okay. And
I can remember, I don't know why, but he got behind and he took us, and in this room where we were, my boss was sort of having a big kiss and cuddle with her husband, and he went, look, she's all over him and he's just a postman, right? And he had us up against the wall, and what he was trying to say is, because of what he does and how he provides, I should literally like just worship everything about him. And I was like, it doesn't really work like that. It's got to be like a two-way thing. You've got to be respectful to me as well. And there was just little things like that would happen, and like on the way back he was being quite detrimental, is that the right word, to some of my colleagues, you know, saying things and whatnot. And there's been other incidents as well where he showed us up. But you know, you're married, you take the bad times with the good times, and hopefully things will come around. So then I went to university, and I couldn't do everything then, because teaching degree, you're in every single day, all day, and then you've got work to do on a night time as well.
So it's quite an intense course.
Very intense course. So, you know, like I say, Monday through Friday, you might finish sort of 2ish on a Friday, but the rest you're sort of in all of the time. And then you had your assignments to do and things like that. And I hadn't been to school for a long time. This is like, 16 years later, I hadn't really done any writing, so it was hard for us to get into and whatnot. So, you know, the house would get untidy and
Yeah.
because I just couldn't do everything, you know, and it would be like, you know, get off your lazy fat arse and like, you know, putting us down and that sort of thing. I say, well, you've got to help as well. Do you know what I mean? You're working, but I'm working effectively now to even make our life even better.
Yeah.
So anyway, as I was studying, the very last year of my final last year, you know, known to me, I must have been finishing off my dissertation, and he started an affair that I didn't know about at that point.
Okay.
So I know from, so it would have been, was from 2006, so it would have been the March, April 2005, we started the affair. And I can just remember that whole, he didn't tell us until the following June.
Okay.
June 2006.
Yeah.
And that was because it was after my eldest son's last GCSE exam. He didn't, and the only reason he told us was because her husband had found out.
Right, okay.
And he was wanting to wait until the end of
Jordan's exams.
Yeah, so that they didn't get disrupted.
Okay.
But within that time frame from that to then, he was just, I can't even sugarcoat it, he was a complete bastard. You know? And I started work in the September.
Yeah.
And even then, you know, like I say, people would say, you know, he talks to you terrible, but I just thought that was just marriage, the good with the bad type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So obviously he told us on the Friday, the last day of Jordan's exams, that he had this affair.
Yeah.
And do you know, I always thought that if he ever did anything like that, I would go absolutely mental, crazy. Like, you know, when these people say they throw their clothes out the window, they're going to put them up, they're going to put paint on. Like, I thought I would have just went off it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how calm I was.
Okay.
You know, and I think I was in a bit denial.
Right, okay.
You know, because I'd been with him from being 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to grow old with him. Even though there was all these issues, I thought, we used to be good at one time. Surely we can correct it and be good again.
Be good again, yeah. Okay.
So, you know, I kind of said to my mum and dad, I told them, and I said, I don't want to throw away 18 years. I mean, in hindsight, I couldn't have done it. But at that particular point, I think I was just in shock.
So the denial, almost, as you say, had that mindset of, well, we'll get past it.
Yeah.
We'll continue on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of, that weekend, a friend took our children so we could sort of be together and try and work things out. We booked to go to Relate to have a meeting.
Yeah.
I bought a book after the affair. I bought that. And, you know, he deleted our number out of his phone and things like that. But now, looking back, he wanted to be with her. It wasn't an affair, it was a relationship he was in. It had been going on for 14 months. And I think he was trying to make the blow a bit easier for me instead of just getting up and walking out.
Okay.
So I found on his phone there was messages, how did the meeting go? What was the book called that she bought? And things like that. And I thought, well, he's telling her everything, you know what I mean? And I think he stayed 2 weeks and then he went.
Right, okay.
And that's when I'll never forget that over sense of loneliness. After being with someone for 17 years, I remember that. That was really intense. So off he went. And it was just a case of just getting on with things. I didn't want to be bitter. I refused to be bitter.
Okay.
It's hard. It was very hard work. I refused to be bitter. I thought, no, I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop us from logging on to Amazon and ordering off his credit card about £500 worth of stuff. A little bit just desserts.
Well, yeah.
You know, so it was like
a woman's scorn.
Yes, yeah. I did that.
Right. Okay.
Well, yes, stealing from us and prove it. So I did do that, and then there was like another case. What happened was, he used to come and cut the grass still because it's like a big back garden, and then I was working. I was trying to keep the house, and it was just, you know, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember I was still in Schwetti on his car, and his car had come on the drive behind mine. So I said, because we weren't speaking terms, and I just said, can I jump in your car to pop to the shop? When all I wanted to do was go through it. Right. And I know I did.
Yeah.
And this is me. I've got to know everything.
Okay.
No matter how much it'll hurt us and how much it'll kill us, I've got to know everything.
Okay.
So I went through his car this day, and there was a Licenza bag in with underwear. So I went in the house and I got some scissors and I cut the crotch and I cut the sleeve bits. I just put it back in the car and put it in, and he never mentioned another thing about it.
Okay.
Then I do sound like a psycho. Then I borrowed his car again, and in his golf bag I found a jewellery box, and when I went through the bank details, he had spent £400 on this necklace for her. There was photos of them. There was love letters from every hotel you can think of in Newcastle.
Okay.
But she went half as, so that's all right, isn't it? And that was like, I went through the credit cards and I could see like where he had been and that, because before I trusted him.
Yeah.
I trusted him. So he, where was I? Yeah. So, and that's when I found a letter, and she mentioned that first April night when we kissed, and that's when I knew it had been going on for about 14 months.
Right.
When it all came out.
So was that a big surprise to you to know that it had been going on that long then?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Because it wasn't just an affair. We said he had been having an affair. It wasn't an affair.
Yeah.
He had established a relationship with someone else
Yeah.
and completely shut me out.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why he was the way he was with us. He was horrendous. I guess it was his way of thinking, well, if I'm horrible to her, she'll not want to be with us in any way, and I'm with her now, type of thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess in those sorts of terms, 14 months is a relationship, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
Yeah, definitely. And then the boys were 16 and, well, Jordan was now 16 in the July, and Jack was 13. So they weren't babies, they were up, but they were at that kind of impressionable age. And then I think it was it was bonfire night. And what we used to do every bonfire night is we always used to have our friends around. We used to have one of the chimneys, we'd light that, put some fireworks up, and, you know, I'd make like the hot dogs, and would have hot chocolates. Well, the kids would, we wouldn't, we'd have alcohol. And this night, we decided to keep that going. So I thought, right, okay, I'll keep it going. So invited some friends over, sat around. I mean, even that summer, we had been away, we had arranged a camping trip.
Okay.
With my friend for our 40th. That was like hell, because he was just constantly in contact with her. But, you know, trying to go on normal for the kids, and it was just, even though we're split up, we're trying to keep the things that we had already arranged.
Yeah.
So that October, he got absolutely mortal drunk at mine, and then he fell asleep in my bed, right? And again, this is going to sound really thingy, but I thought, right, I'll just look at your phone. So I got his phone out, and he was saying how I wasn't there. He was just with Jack. Like, he was lying through his teeth to her. But on the thing, there was videos of them having sex.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
So, and I had to watch them, didn't I? Like, just, well, I didn't know that's what they were.
Yeah.
So, God, that was hard. That, you know, it was hard to see that. So what I did was I Bluetoothed them to my phone, downloaded them onto a computer, and burnt them on a disc for evidence. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. That's what I've got, just in case I need it. And actually, I put my name in, her number, and her name in my number. And it wasn't until next day he came back, and he went, "Do you think you're funny changing the numbers in my phone?" I went, "They're not as funny as your videos." And his face just like changed, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was hard, but again, I had to put myself through it. So if I fast forward to February 2008, just plodding along.
Yeah.
But as I'm plodding along, every month I'm getting a throat infection. I'm getting water infection, I'm getting a lung infection, I'm getting an ear infection. Like every month I've got something wrong with this dum, right? But I'm like, I went back to work on the Monday. Like he told us on the Friday, I went back to work on the Monday,
Right.
you know, and I was just like, like I say, I think I was just in this, I don't know, this just denial.
Yeah.
So in the February of 2008, it was about a year and a half, and I decided to start dating again. But it wasn't really going well, and my confidence was knocked a little bit. And I remember I was in Huddersfield on a course for work,
Yeah.
and it only described as a panic attack. I just
Right.
had this panic attack. I was shaking. I couldn't breathe. I was just in this panic. I just didn't know what. And I had to drive home from Huddersfield,
Right.
you know, like just crying my eyes out. And I remember I came home and I went to see the doctor. Sorry, prior to that, 3 weeks before that, I think I must have been feeling a bit low, and he put us on fluoxetine.
Okay.
Fluoxetine, I think it was. So, and I don't know if I had a reaction to that, and that's why I had a panic attack or what, I
Yeah.
don't know. So then they took us off that and they put us on citalopram. And I'm still on that now,
Okay.
right? You put us on 20 milligrams of that.
Okay.
So you're looking at, what I say there, 2008?
2008.
So you're looking 14 years I've been on them now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. But I get out of bed and I function.
Okay.
So I was on 20 milligrams, and I was off work
Yeah.
because I think all of a sudden it just hit us.
Was that like a bit of a crash for
Yeah.
you then?
I
That,
think I just had a
you know,
breakdown.
Right.
I think instead of coping with it at the time, I just went forward. My body was telling us, "No, slow down. You need to like think about this." And that's why I was getting so poorly all the time.
those
One thing
infections.
yeah,
Right.
I think it was just my body's way of saying, you know, you're not right. You can't fight this, and this. You're getting poorly, and then I think all of a sudden my body just stopped,
Right.
and that's just when I had that panic attack, and I literally just shut down.
Yeah.
And that's when I had my first cognitive behaviour therapy,
Okay.
and it was just via a computer, and you had different scenarios on it. One of them was a teacher.
Yeah.
And then other different things, and they would listen to how they were feeling and how they were doing, and you had to go through, and they were looking at kind of the tree analogy and the roots underneath that. If you know, if these thoughts were deep rooted within you, that things are going to come out the way they do. And
Yeah.
what I can remember is that it was a long time ago. So yeah,
But
that-
did it help though? Because like as a therapist, you know, I'm not dismissing CBT. It's absolutely useful. However, in my opinion, you've got to be the right person in the
Yeah.
right frame of mind with the right therapist
Yeah.
for CBT to be a success.
well, there was no therapist. It was just a computer.
Okay.
So I had to go to, you know, Monkton Home.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a place in there, and I remember I had to go in there, and I was just put in a room on a computer, and you were just
Okay.
given these different scenarios. And I can remember it had me thinking about deep-rooted thoughts,
Yeah.
about what I thought about myself and things like that. But I wouldn't say that I then knew how to move forward properly with that. It made
Yeah.
me aware that through the years, things that were maybe said and done, I believed.
Yeah, so it sort of it brought back some of those behaviours of your
Yeah.
ex-husband. You were
Yeah.
saying, you know, controlling behaviours and things like that, and bringing you down.
Yeah.
So it helped you recognise those,
Yeah.
but via this computer. So apologies, I thought you meant you were working on a computer, but a therapist was there.
No, you literally,
This was just
you just
literally a
literally went
computer.
in front of a
Okay.
computer, and like I say, you had different scenarios, so you'd
Yeah.
watch the different scenarios and see how that unfolded,
Right.
you know, and try and then I think there was some questions that you had to answer as well. I can just remember certain bits of that.
Yeah.
And I remember coming away thinking, okay, it's made us aware of some of my thoughts,
Yeah.
and that are deep rooted, that are maybe perhaps stopping me from moving forward in certain things.
Yeah.
But I don't think it gives us the tools to know how to move forward from those things.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So so we'll keep going, and the two boys are still at home. And then my eldest started taking over the behaviour his father with us.
Okay.
Yeah, talking down to us,
Okay.
demanding things like, you know, tea button, like a really, not in a very nice way. I tried to get his dad on board to have a word with him, because by now he was 21, so he was a man.
So he's 21, he's a man, still living at home with you. Obviously his brother's, 17, 18 at the time as well. So within all of this, you must were you still on, I don't want to say friendly, but on speaking terms with Dad?
Yeah.
Civil?
Yeah, I always have been.
Okay.
For the sake of the lads, it's like, you know, I've always been sort of civil.
Yeah.
And I never slagged them off in front of them, because at the end of the day, that's their dad, and they had to find out for themselves whatever they wanted to find out.
Yeah. Okay.
I slagged them off, but not in front of them.
Yeah, well, that's one thing with the you know, with the girls over a glass of wine maybe or whatever, but you know, in front of the kids, it was a non-starter. No. That would never happen. So you were still on sort of civil terms with him, and you'd sort of said, these are the behaviours he's starting to display to me. Yeah. Can you have a word? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he just said, well, what are you saying to him?
Yeah.
Because I think he said I was a twat or something like that.
Okay.
Looking back as well, I think my mental health, like I say at the time, wasn't great. And I do remember opening up to him and saying, God, sometimes when you were little, like, you know, I wished I had been this or this or this. Do you know what I mean? I was just constantly battling with being a good mum and a good parent. And I was gutted that my family unit was split up and whatnot. And I got the point where I said to him, you're going to have to go and live with your dad for a bit, because you've got me on the bottom and you've just got me down. And, you know, it's like when he come in, I used to get like a tight in my stomach, like I used to feel with his dad when he used to come in, thinking, what's he going to say? What's he going to do? How's he going to make us feel?
So you listen to your body's signals then, and you are saying, okay, this is a stress, this is an anxiety, and you asked him to then move out for a bit. Okay.
So he went to his dad's, but it backfired because he never came back.
Okay.
He never came back. He sort of moved in with his dad, who was living in Bolton at the time, with his partner, and her son as well. He moved in with them. And that's when I saw someone person to person, because it really bothered us that I had to ask my son to leave, because I'm his mum. Yeah. And it kind of broke us that I had to ask him to leave, because I always wanted them to know that that was always their home, that was always their house. Yeah. But I knew I was I knew I was heading downwards again. I could feel it. Yeah. And that's when I had, like I say, and I do recall it was at the doctor's on the corner at the Nook. Up there it was in there. It was based.
Okay.
And I remember I went in there and he had a flip chart and had all the different things, and I think we did go through things a lot more in depth. I can't remember it all intrinsically. I can't really remember like the ins and outs, but I can just remember feeling a lot better about myself. And I mean, I was off work again with that, like on the bottom with, you know, at work.
But having that therapist with you, going through thoughts, feelings, emotions, etc., that kind of discussing them, that had a more positive impact on you?
Definitely,
than working on the computer?
Yeah, well, the computer, you know, was just sort of, it was just a generalised sort of answer. You had a multiple choice thing that you could click. Yeah. Whereas getting to know the therapist, getting to know the person. Yeah. Because I was there for like, I can't remember, would have been maybe, I don't know, would a 6-week course be the type that you would, or maybe it's longer, I can't remember now. Yeah. But I used to go every week at a certain time. And obviously that he got to know me and who I was, and he sat, and he was impartial. But obviously I was his client at that particular point. You know, and he made me see things in a different way, that instead of me blaming myself all of the time, look at other people's behaviours. Yeah. Like I was hard on myself, like I blame myself all the time, like me doing this, me doing that, me doing the other, if I could have done this, if I could have done that, you know. But, you know, he was saying, but what about you might have been that. What about them other people?
Yeah.
What about the way that they are? And, sort of like making us really think that it wasn't always down to me.
Yes.
Even down in relationships, well, why is that person not interested in me? Well, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's just that they prefer brunettes to blondes. And it really made us think that it wasn't always me all of the time. That was, the problem. That's what I kept thinking. It was me that was the problem.
Right. So you were taking, it's me. I'll take the blame for everything and stuff. But this therapist has helped you bring in another perspective to say, well, actually, that may not be the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And, and again, it made me really look into myself and think, well, no, you are a nice person. You are a good mom.
Yeah.
You have tried it. But it took him and other people to tell me that.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it. And it had to be like unpicked from the behaviours that I had developed against myself, really. And he had to sort of undo those behaviours to make me look at myself in that different light.
So he made you recognise or helped you recognise some of these self-defeating behaviours as well.
Yeah.
And the negative thought processes.
And I was in a huge negative thought process.
Yeah.
Hugely. And I think sometimes that is a very, very hard thing to come out of, and that's why you need that one-to-one.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
it's
and especially someone who's impartial.
Yeah.
It's like you said before, it's lovely to go and sit with your girls and have a glass of wine, but they'll be for you.
Yes.
And although they're going to give you advice, it isn't going to, sometimes they won't give you the full truth. Sometimes you do need to be told a few home truths.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes when you have got someone, like I say, that is impartial, that can sort of look at it without knowing you in depth and just what you're saying, and maybe they can see, and obviously trained people know what to look for and what to say, that, the help can start being really beneficial and moving forward. Yeah,
and it takes that time. You had to take that time to build up that trust with the therapist, that bit of rapport.
Of course, yeah.
Have a bit of a laugh at times.
And open up more as well.
But share, that's it, that's sharing. And then for that therapist to be thinking, okay, well, you're saying this a lot, but have you thought about it from this angle?
Yeah.
Or you're saying this a lot, is that really true? And discuss what's underneath it.
And I did think that. I did step back and I thought, are you right? Because he made me sort of take a step back and talked about learned behaviours. Yeah. That my son, being at that age he was, he was, he soaked that up and thought that was right.
Yeah.
So that and even to this day, that relationship isn't great.
Well, you've just preempted one of my questions, yeah. So is that,
Yeah, it's better. It's better. I mean, he's got a daughter now who I absolutely adore, and I do have her and whatnot. But if I was in a room once, which was only last year or maybe the year before, and there was Violet, my granddaughter, and my daughter-in-law and me, and you kiss them goodbye, but he wouldn't kiss me goodbye.
Okay.
And if I did go to give him a kiss, he'll give us his head like that, so I can kiss his head.
Right. Okay.
He's got no. There's just something with me that he can't show his emotion to me. I lost my dad last year, and he didn't comfort us. He didn't come out and give us a hug. He didn't say anything.
Okay.
And I know he might have been grieving as well, and I get that. I get that.
Of course, yeah.
I do get that. But I mean, he's great with me mum, and other people. He's just funny with me.
It's just
and it's hurtful and it's awful. But like I say, we are getting on. We get on better.
Yeah.
But it's still not great.
Okay.
It's not like I would like it to be.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
And have you tried to address that with him?
I've asked him. I asked him if we could go and see someone together.
Okay.
But he's just not interested. Right. He said no.
Yeah.
I might need to ask him again.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I was perfect, because he'll say everyone thinks you're perfect and you're this. I went, I'm not perfect, Jordan. I said I've got loads of flaws, and I know I have. I says, and I know as a mom I made mistakes. You know, I've had him in the car before and I've been dropping him off and I've said, can I apologise if there's anything that I've ever done, if I've ever hurt you? And I can't think, the only thing I can ever think is when I asked him to leave. I've asked my friends about it. You know, is there any time that you think? He does sometimes think that I favoured the younger one to him, but all siblings think that. I thought that it taught me, like, our girl always got away with murder and me and my brother didn't. Did I? I don't know. I don't think I did.
Well,
but that's his point of view, do you know what I mean? And I've got to respect that.
Yeah, that's his point of view. It's his perspective. But what you can do, I guess, is look back and think, well, I did my best as a parent and still continue to do your best as a parent.
And I mean, it's like both sons have been brought up the same. And I'm really close to my other son. And me and Jordan were really close. We were really close from growing up. And then, and I would say he was for me when we were split up. And I do not know what changed. I can't pinpoint it when he changed. And it just flipped on its back.
But it did.
And I really can't, like I say, can't pinpoint it when it was.
Yeah. So that relationship though, does it make you sad that it's not as nice as it potentially could be?
I look at friends and, you know, and family and the relationship they've got with their children, and like I do crave that. But I've actually accepted that it is what it is and take a step back. Otherwise, I'll make myself more bad about it.
But it's a complexities of relationships, isn't it? You know, and it's not always that, you know, rainbows and fairy tales in family relationships.
Well, it's the opposite with me, my youngest son and his dad. Because his dad tried to control him. So basically, he studied abroad. And he now lives in Germany. And my youngest is very much his own mind. He's he's vegan. He's for the environment. He's a scientific journalist. You know, he does writing. He does all that sort of thing. But all his dad keeps going on about is how he paid for him to go to university. It was £2,000 a year as opposed to £9,000 over there. And he did. He spent nigh on £20,000. But most parents do that now. I helped out when I could. I think I give him £5,000. It's all I could afford. I didn't have two. I haven't got two incomes coming in. I've only got one. And then I'll buy his flights and, you know, and help out that way. And he used to come and stay at mine and whatnot, and I'd feed him and whatnot. So they just don't get on. They clash terrible.
The two boys?
No, my youngest and his dad.
The youngest and his dad.
Yeah, the two lads get on all right.
Yeah.
And they've just been away for Jordan's stag do, and I was like, how's that gonna go? And Jack says he got there early, and his room wasn't quite ready, so he was sitting in the foyer just reading his book. He says, now I thought, I'll go to the toilet. He says, and when I come out the toilet, the others had arrived, and Jordan says to his dad, Alan, why don't you share with Jack? And he went, fuck that. And Jack was behind him. And Jack went, yeah, fuck that. And he says his dad turned around and like nearly died. You know, and I just thought, oh God. So yeah, there's a few. There is definitely, you know, there's been issues between, but even Jordan's like that with his dad as well. Like he puts up with no crap with him as well. But me and Jack get on great. But I mean, growing up with Jack, I always knew there was something deep down, and he came out as gay. And he just remembers his dad saying a lot of homophobic stuff as well.
So that's going to stick with him.
Because I said, I mean, he didn't tell me he was 19. And I did have an inkling, but then he had a girlfriend. And it was off the scent. I thought, oh, scent's got wrong scent. And he says he knew from 12, you know, and that kind of like gets me, because we always had an open, like, lovely open relationship where we could talk about things and whatnot. But I think he says, Mum, I just had to figure it out for myself.
Well, I guess at 12 you have those thoughts maybe, but you don't have the quite the emotional maturity, if you
That's
like.
right,
And
yeah.
but then sort of by 19, he's
Yeah.
kind of
Well, he got to 16 and he had a girlfriend for a year.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I think that sort of ended. And then, I think he sort of was more emotionally mature then, and that's when he came out. Yeah.
Okay.
And he was. I remember he came in the bedroom absolutely shaking, and I thought he was going to say he was going to go and live with his dad or something. Mum, I've got something to tell you. I was like, you what, Jack? You're scaring us. And then he showed us, and I went, oh, I said, so what? I says, you're my son. I'm not bothered. And he just says, you can ask us anything you want. Bless him. So yeah, and like he lives in Germany. And he's really happy over there.
Fantastic.
He's great over there and whatnot. So what was the next thing? So that's kind of the family dynamics my sort of in the family kind of things, how my mental health has went up and down with that.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear that story, and thank you very, very much for sharing that. I'm sure that the listeners and viewers will really it'll resonate with people, I think, as well, just to see, as I say, not everything's rainbows and unicorns. When it comes to families, there's ups, there's downs, there's complexities in relationships, and the impact it's had on you, and things like your self-confidence and your self-worth and all the rest of it. There's been a really, really interesting tale.
And I mean, that kind of spilled over into work, the work environment as well, which is where I'm going to talk about the mental health side of things with work. Yeah,
okay. So you had the teaching assistant sort of role for a couple of years and things like that, and you're now 18 years in as a teacher.
So kind of my first year teaching, I was just coming to the end of my first year teaching when my marriage came to an end. And I thank God I had that to fall on.
Okay.
That career. I was there not quite 2 years when I was off with a little bit of a breakdown. And then I would fast forward another 5 years when I had another blip with Jordan.
Yes.
And I was off not as long, but I came back like in phased return as well. Just, because when you're working, if it's, if something's off balance, if you haven't got a happy family life or you haven't got a happy work-life balance, that's when you tip off balance, and you've got to kind of have those both hand in hand, otherwise it just becomes hell.
Absolutely.
So now it must be 8 years ago. I want to say, no, it's not. 7 years ago, 2015.
Okay.
So prior to that, I got a promotion and I was classed as a team leader. So I was in charge of Key Stage 1. So looking after, the data and the ins and outs of that.
Fantastic.
And then our head teacher sort of went off to different ventures, and we had quite a battle at work. It was a case of we had a very established staff, head teacher. That person retired. We ended up federating with another school, so we had a lot of change there. That head teacher came over, but kind of had her fingers in lots of different pies and wasn't really there. So then other people started stepping up, but they hadn't had any training, so they were sort of off flying everywhere. And then behaviour took a dive, and that was hard on the mental health as well.
So whose behaviour?
The kids.
The kids' behaviour.
The kids' behaviour at school took a dive, which was hard because you were having to deal with constant bad behaviour, which puts you on the bottom as well.
Okay.
And then we're taken out of class. Kids were hiding behind bushes, trying to. It was. Work was becoming like not nice.
Okay.
It wasn't a nice place to go to.
Not a good environment.
It wasn't a good environment.
Productive, nothing like that. Okay.
100% not productive.
Okay.
So then the CEO knew that we need to do something about it, and she came in for 3 months, and she couldn't believe how much the school had gone downhill in everything really. We hadn't hit the floor targets for the SATs, which means you've got to get a certain level. Otherwise, it's bad.
Okay.
So she ended up getting someone who came in the Easter, and he stayed for about 3 years, and he turned the school around.
Okay. Right.
But in that time, I just wasn't being as productive as a teacher. Like I was failing me observations. I felt like I had just lost my way, that I didn't know how to teach anymore.
So even though this new head had came in, and over that 4 years, he changed and got the school on a more positive.
But when he first came, I'm talking about when he first came.
Okay,
so he did turn it round eventually, But when he first came, and like I say, I was a team leader.
Yeah.
When he came in and started putting things in place, like I hadn't even had the right training. When I look now at the training people got, the difference. So anyway, what happened was I ended up, like, I was crying. I think from about January to Easter, I cried every day. Like, I just was a mess.
Okay.
And, that had upped me tablets.
Uh-huh.
And then, all the way through the years, I was on 20, I was on 30, I was on 20. And they had to put it up to 40, and that's the highest you can go on these particular tablets.
Okay.
And
what colleagues trying to help and support
people
like
were trying to help us and support us, but I just felt like I was just in this deep dark hole, and I didn't know how to get myself back round again.
Okay.
And I had to go through quite a massive ego bashing to get back to where I am, like even today.
Okay.
So I went to see the head teacher, and I said to him, if I'm not teaching properly, how can I lead properly?
Okay.
I said, I can't lead a team if I'm not providing the goods myself.
Yeah.
So I need to take a step back, give that up, and concentrate on doing teaching. My bread and butter.
Concentrate on you and your job.
Yeah, I need
That's
to do
your primary focus.
And because if I didn't get that, I'd lose my job.
Yes. Okay.
So this is when sort of the whole kind of to me was like just a total knock of confidence, but at the same time I understood it. We're due Ofsted, so then I got told that they were taking me from that school and they were putting us in the other school.
Okay.
And they were bringing a management person over to lead ready for Ofsted.
Okay.
And bearing in mind, I had been in this school then for 11 years. So I had to go over to that school, and they had a student in there, and I was told that I was by no means to tell her what to do. And I just thought, well, I'm yes, fair enough, my teacher might not be great, but I'm still an experienced teacher. I can still help out in certain ways. Anyway, I think I was there 2 weeks when I fell and broke my arm.
Wow. Okay.
So I broke my elbow when I was out with the girls. Tripped over a curb. I wasn't drunk. And it kind of hit a chair. You can still see the scar, actually.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And it hit a chair, and it went like that, and it knocked my elbow.
Ouch.
So, and you can't put a cast on it or anything. No. Mind you, I didn't let it spoil my weekend. I went to the hospital the next day. And I was in a sling. It was black and blue. Like it was like I couldn't, the rotator cuff, I couldn't like rotate or anything like that. Right. So I was on the sick from this school after only been there 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The other girl that was coming over, that wasn't going well. It literally all went kind of tits up. So they had me back.
Okay.
In the summer term, because I thought, that's it, I'm never going back there, they'll keep us here.
Yeah. So once you recovered from your elbow injury, you were moved back into that
that school. Yeah.
Okay.
But I was put on an action plan.
Okay.
So obviously, in order to improve my teaching, and I was very defensive. Really, really defensive.
Yeah.
I thought in life I had just taken that many knocks, and tried to like not be bitter, not to be this, not be that. And I think I just had enough. Yeah. By this point, it was just like something else that wasn't going right in my life within quite a short period of time, really.
Yeah.
And I was in year 2 at the time, and then because I'd given that up, they needed to get someone else in. They brought an assistant head in. Right. And she took the year 2 class, and I got moved to year 1, and I took umbrage to that. You know, I was being put down. I mean, I look back now and I can see why everything was, but I wasn't in that headspace at that particular point.
No. Now in perspective,
Now
is
I
a
can
different
look,
thing.
but back then,
At the time,
no,
you
it was the world against Lisa.
okay, right?
That was
okay.
it. Was the world against Lisa, and I was fighting for survival here.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm still on my tablets. I'm still trying to function. I'm still trying to get out of bed every day. You know, pull them blankets back, get up, and still try and cope with this as well. I mean, to be honest with you, the whole experience, I'm a different person today, and I think I'm a better person today than what I was all. I think I've had to go through these knocks and up down to be who I am today. So yeah, I ended up getting watched, and I don't think they knew what had hit us. Some of the things that had hit them, some of the things that was coming out my mouth. You know, I remember the deputy. She's head now, but the deputy at the time, because she'll talk about it now, and she came in and I was teaching and she spoke over us. Now to me in teaching, when you do that, they're kind of saying you're not controlling your class.
Okay.
So when she went, how did you think that went? And I went, well, I thought it was going well. You interrupted. And she the look of shock on her face was like, I was just trying to help. I went, well, in my eyes, you're telling me I wasn't controlling my class.
Yeah.
I was like constantly like on the defensive for stuff. And like I say, still crying, you know, still not happy. Debated whether or not teaching was for me, whether I could do it anymore, what could I do with my degree. Like, and even since then it goes in peaks and troughs, like about that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, I managed to turn it back around and I managed to get myself back on, you know, an even pegging and started thriving again.
So was that things that you did in school, outside of school? Was it with the help of friends, colleagues, you know?
I had to go and see the occupational health through work because I was on the bottom. And there was another kind of counsellor there.
Okay.
And I remember it was a case, I always remember she did the scenario of when you're feeling wound up, because I was just like, constantly. Yeah. She was like, take a step back, think of, you know, the 5 things you can say, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can this, 2, And they did calm us down. They did start calming us down and whatnot. Because I was, by this time, I was like, still quite defensive, very argumentative. In fact, to the point, at one point, I'm trying to think when that was. Sorry, prior to that, I decided I was going to try meditation. Okay. I was going to do yoga or meditation or something to try and calm me down.
Calm down.
Center myself, get things in perspective, not be so hot-headed, you know, be so frustrated. Put your energies into that. So I think it must be 7 years I've been doing meditation now. And it's like every 2 weeks I do that. And I also do something called the gong bath as well. Have you heard of them?
I've experienced one.
Have you?
Yeah, I experienced one a few months ago.
Oh, did you?
A friend of mine called Lynn. I did my hypnotherapy training with her a few years back, and we're still in touch from time to time. And she invited myself and my wife to experience a gong bath, and so I know what you're talking about. But if you want to explain it to listeners,
so basically, the particular gong that my practitioner uses is called a Venus gong, and they have different sound vibrations that come off them. And what it's meant to do is it's meant to send out these sound vibrations that are kind of like a sound healing. And you can actually feel it vibrating through you. I don't know if you can remember that, like all that. You can go into crisis, but she gives you different methods of coping with that. A lot of it's to do with your breathing, controlling your breathing. And it's kind of what she does is she'll take you into a relaxation, and then within meditation I go into a guided visualization. We do music, what's it called again, movement just kata, where you candles stay. But going back to the gong bath, we do all that. She does bells, things like that, just calms you right down. And then she does the the gong. Sometimes it's really quiet. Sometimes she bashes it to the point at one time this woman sat up and she went, "What the fuck was that?" She thought she was that far under. She thought something was coming through her front window.
Wow, dear me.
Yeah. And you know, eventually, you know, you do sort of you do go under and you do get sort of calmer, and if you're into it, hers is quite a spiritual one as well, so you sometimes get like messages and things like that if you're into that sort of thing. But to me, loads of people have commented how calmer I am. And I think it's because I've got out of control with my emotions and I've brought them back in line again. And I just don't, and I don't know if it's because I'm older, but I just don't get head up about things anymore.
But all of these things that you're doing for self-care, these are obviously having a positive impact on you as well. To ground yourself, to centre yourself, to feel more in control, thoughts, feelings and emotions, you know, they've had a really, really positive impact on you.
They have on me, like a huge impact, and I'm really good friends with the practitioner. You know, I think she's amazing at what she does. She knows, she's very experienced, she knows how to calm you. I mean, she does like other things as well, but to me these are the ones that ground you, calm you. The breathing as well, when you get into a sense where, you know, I talked before about how I get myself all head up, or you can feel like panicky when you take these deep breaths and you hold them and you release them in through your nose, hold out through your mouth. It brings you back down again and calms you down again. Centers you.
There's something I read somewhere about like 7 seconds. It's something like you breathe in for 7 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, and then breathe out for 7 seconds.
Hold it, breathe out, and then stop for 7 seconds. That bit's hard. But
there's something physiological behind it as well as psychological behind it.
There's like so many different things. Like Nusha talks about all these different things, but as a person, it has grounded me massively, and calmed me down. I would say definitely more so in the last 4 years. Because another incident happened at work, where the deputy became a head and we had a massive clash. What had happened was, it doesn't bother me that people are younger than as if they became the team leader, but what bothers us is when people don't listen to us and listen to the fact I've got experience. Yes, I might not be a team leader anymore. I chose to step down from that, and I did not want that back. I did not want that stress back because it was hell. But what did infuriate is when someone who wasn't experienced as me wouldn't listen to what I was saying and started demanding things. So obviously I'm not going to take that. Maybe I should have been a bit more professional, but it was a learning curve with things. You will do this. No, I won't do that because you're not talking to us like that. There was little things like that. So anyway, she obviously went up the head, told the head come down. You will listen to her. And I went, I will not listen to her. I will be spoken to, you know, in a proper manner. Anyway, we ended up having, that was it. We ended up having a meeting on the Friday, 3:30 on a Friday, that I wasn't happy about. And I went in defensive. I went in with that mindset. I was not in a good mindset to sit in that meeting. Everything they said irritated the hell out of us. There was just, I mean, people were just sitting there with their eyes open, and I was like this. Let me watch. Sighing, like so visible, rude. I was rude. You know, looking at me watch. They were trying to say stuff because they weren't listening to me. I wasn't going to listen to them. That was my mentality at that particular point. I had gone. And that's when the head said to us, "Do you need to be somewhere?" I went, "Yeah, I do actually. I need to be at the doctor's because I got a prescription up." And I just, "Well, do you want to go?" I went, "Yeah." And I just got up and walked down.
So you just checked out that completely.
Yeah.
I mean, you weren't there mentally anyway.
Nah.
But then you weren't there physically either.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just got up and I just walked out.
Okay.
That Monday, she tore a strip off me. She absolutely went for me, right? Argued back at her. She argued at me. But it was the last straw for us, and I went over again.
Yeah.
And the next day I went on the sick.
Okay.
I was just pushed over again. It was just one thing too many. I think what had happened was it was just one thing after another. And I recognise my symptoms of that now when I feel like I'm going over something, if I feel like I'm starting to do that, because I get defensive, I get a bit more moody, I get like, I can't see, I'm negative.
Yeah.
Where I think, pull yourself back, you're starting to go in that pattern again.
So before that momentum builds, you recognise those
I do
thoughts.
now. I do now.
Oh, hold on a second. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but prior to that, I hadn't.
Yeah.
And at this particular point, so leading up to that, it was like there was a lot of things at work happening where I wasn't being listened to. I didn't feel sort of respected. I didn't feel needed. You know, I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt like, what's the point in being here? I may as well, you know, do something different or try and go and do something different. But at the same time, I did enjoy working with the people I worked with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I ended up going on the sick, and did I have to go back to occupational health? I can't remember now. I can't remember if I did. Yeah, I think I did. Because I remember thinking, God, I'm sitting in here again. Yeah, I did.
Right.
I had to go back to occupational health again.
Back through the counselling cycle.
And back through the counselling again.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've had to have a good talking to a few times. And I think had I have listened to myself a little bit more, I might not have had to go through all that again. You know, if I had seen the signs.
Recognise the signs. It built your self-awareness a little bit more.
Yeah. And I felt, well, that bit's finished, I can move on.
Yeah.
Not thinking, it's not a case of, you finish it, moved on. It's something that you live with, Lisa. You live with depression and anxiety. That is you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to live with that.
Yeah,
and it's how you put it forward. But I was thinking, well, that episode's finished, I'm all right, I'll move on. But then I was moving along in a place where things were happening and I wasn't coping with it again. I was going, if you go down the stairs type of thing again, to the point where, exploding again.
Yeah.
In different ways, however that might be. So, like I say, I was off, and we met her. I lost all trust in her. At that point as well.
So the professional relationship had disintegrated totally.
100%. Okay. I mean, I have to say though, when my ex-husband did what he did, I lost a lot of trust in everybody, because I thought if your best friend and husband can do that to you, anybody can do that to you. Yeah. So, you know, when I did run in with people, my trust on them was just gone.
So there's been an ongoing thing with trust issues as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember I met her in Costa and I took someone with us and I got someone to take notes. I was that untrustworthy of everything that was going on. I needed someone to minute my meetings. Yeah. With everything that was said.
With everything, okay.
And it's marked down when I looked at me, because you can go online and look at your sort of sick record and different things, and it has sick note, not work related. And I remember thinking, okay, I can't remember that happening, like, but we'll let that one go. And I remember getting the back to work meeting and sitting, and she recognised what triggers me. She was saying, I find because by then I had worked with her about 4 years. Okay. She says, I find what triggers Lisa is, I find that she gets defensive, I find that she gets this and that, and I thought, God, yeah, she's right. She's right. You know, and it made us look at her in a different light, I guess, in that respect. Because I thought, well, she does care, because she's thought about, like, all those different things and how they go. And she was just starting off, and her journey is ahead. And she had to learn how to be with people as well, in that respect. So she was on a learning curve as well. And I remember at the time as well, the what they're called, when head of HR. They came over and I'd having an interview with them, and they were saying, well, you are an age when you're going through menopause. And I was like, okay, you know, mood changes, hormonal changes, different things like this.
Which to be fair, is very real. Yeah,
it's true.
So,
so since that episode, I've been on 40 milligrams ever since.
Okay.
I've never come down.
Right.
And the doctor's just, I'm on repeat prescription. And there's times I have wanted to say to them, will you bring it down? But I'm scared.
Really?
I'm scared of like going back down that black hole again.
Yeah. So as things stand at the minute, you don't see an end to those tablets?
Well, I've been on them 14 years.
Yeah, which is an incredibly long time, but you don't see a reduction at the moment?
There's times I think I'm all right, I'm functioning, I'm great, but I'm thinking, but I'm functioning, I'm great because I'm on them.
Yeah. Okay. Do you not see a perspective where you're functioning, you're great because you're doing more things for you, your self-care, you're in a better mind space, you know what works best for you now, you've identified
I have
those
educated
things?
I think I am a lot more educated in my my own well-being now, by trial and error throughout the years of what's worked and what hasn't worked, and then, you know, moving forward and doing self-care, and I'm a great believer in trying to go for massages and doing you know, spa days, like things that would they help me because they're chilled, they're relaxed. It's like zen.
Yes.
You know, that's helped me. Other people might like go rock climbing or doing sport or something like that. Yeah. That's my idea of health. I like to be like, you know, just chilling out, relaxing.
But that's the important thing is people, isn't it? There's no handbook. There's no
Everyone's
leaflet.
different.
Everybody's got to find their own thing or things that work for them in regards to self-care. You know, I mean, you talked about the gong baths and various other things. And again, that might sound like hell to other people.
Exactly.
And that's fine if you choose to go on a 20-mile hike up a hill.
And because that's right, because I know some people, to them, that's their relaxation, that's their mental freedom. They don't get me wrong, I do like to walk. I like to walk by the sea. The crashing of the waves is very therapeutical to me. That's my go-to place when I need a bit of a breather as well. And that just brings me down as well. Yeah. So I do enjoy that and doing that. And what I find now with work is since then, we have a company that we are subscribed to that I forgot the name of them now, but it's if you got one counselling and if you want a doctor or you want this and you want that, there is an option because obviously they want to reduce sick.
Yes. In
work, so they're offering these things.
So there's more support.
Definitely more support, and not even just support from that. There's also support in house as well now in my school.
Okay.
I don't know if that's across the board, but I know mental health has had like a massive, huge. Obviously, it was Mental Health Day yesterday. That's why I've got yellow on today because our school has had a mental health day for children today. I've lost my thread.
You're saying the support's
better
that's right.
The support's better within school. It's kind of like as soon as you can. So even was it last week or the week before? I could feel myself going again, but it turned out I had a water infection. Okay. I was poorly. Yeah. But I was thinking, hang on, I'm getting defensive. Yeah. I'm getting ratty. Things that people are irritating us. Yeah. And then it was because my body wasn't functioning the way it should. But I recognised it straight away. And in one of the assistant heads come to us and she was sort of saying, have I like upset you or anything? And I went, no, you haven't upset me at all. I said, I'm not well. Yeah. You know, I said, and I apologise if I've come across ratty or I apologise straight away to her if I had come across like that. I said, my tolerance level is a little bit low at the minute because I'm tired and I can't be bothered. And that's that, you know.
But it's great to hear that support's improved over the years.
It has massively, and even at the point where when we came back in September, they kind of turned around and said, you know, if you guys want to be able to go and see your child's play or pick your child up from school one day, like the ones with the younger ones. Yeah. I want you to go and be able to do that because as a teacher, you can never do anything like that. You're looking after everybody else's kids, but you can't do anything for your own kids. Okay. and you know, like little things like that, and it just makes you feel appreciated,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel that you know, and you want to do more for them, because teaching's a lot of give and take. You know, a lot of it is you know, a lot of people think it's 9 till 3, 9 till 3:30.
Yeah.
But you know, most people are in 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we don't finish till 5:45, 6 o'clock, and then you're going home and doing work, and whatnot. But also, and to ensure the kids have good time. So when we're having parties and we're having discos, everyone just gives up that time because we're in the job, because we love the kids and we want them to enjoy themselves. But it's like a lot, you know, it's a lot of goodwill as well.
Yeah.
So you know, it's kind of, if they're going to keep us happy and healthy and well, we're going to do a lot more for school rather than come in shattered, tired. And that's another thing as well, the workload issue. I feel that's gone down a lot in the last couple of years. I mean, before it was just unmanageable. When I was living at home with my mum and dad for that year in 2015, my mum said, "Do you ever stop?" She says, "You're sitting next to us and I don't even have a conversation with you."
Yeah.
You know, and like, but since then, I would say that people's well-being is definitely taken. They've seen that when people have got, you know, their well-being is where it should be, and people are sleeping, teaching's more productive. Therefore, the kids are learning more.
Yeah. So and having the staff energized, taken care of, increases the motivation and the focus, and it's all around a more positive.
Absolutely. Instead of do endless things. Now a lot of them as well. Are the children going to learn from that? Are the children going to learn from that? You know, instead of like ticky boxes and endless things, what are the children going to get out of that? Which is obviously what we're there for.
Yeah, absolutely. Is your school an academy or is it local authority?
Academy.
Academy. Okay. Do you think there's a big difference within the two, just from your experience? And I'm sorry, I'm coming from that from the support perspective.
No, yeah. Do you mean between a local authority school for support and that?
Yeah.
I would say within the academy we have got people for everything. So I guess at the local authority there's a main headquarters type of thing, and within that you'd have a team of HR, you'd have a team of financial people, you'd have a team. We've got all of our own for that.
Okay.
There's 14 schools within our academy, but we've got our own HR, we've got our own financial, we've even got in school, we've got our own family liaison officer, and things like that, you know. So who's trained in you know, attendances, lateness, to help children with some of their mental health, different things like that, you know.
Yeah.
The kids who constantly sort of kick off with behaviour and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I couldn't, because that's the only school I've been in for 18 years. I'm still at that school, so I don't know what it would be like anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's a bit of up and down. Some schools are very, very supportive, and I think you've still got some schools who beat you down to the ground and get. And it tends to be that they haven't got any trust in their staff, and they think that, you know, all the staff are just trying to get out of stuff, and there's just like no trust there. Whereas I think when there's trust there, it's a two-way street, and you can, you know, if they're giving stuff to you, and you can give it back to them.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, you're saying, we're obviously talking in the teaching profession here, but to me it would go for almost any employee. If you can show, not just through a pay packet, but if you can show your employees or staff that you value them and you want to take care of them, and you know, then you will get that goodwill back, you know.
Absolutely.
And it becomes a bit more, and it's like, you know, would you mind staying late for a couple of hours to do this? And
100%,
and we'll maybe try and get you on a half day another day, or so, you know, anything like that.
We get to take the kids to this residential. Will you do this? Will you do that? Will you do the other?
Yeah. And that well-being, it doesn't all, don't get us wrong, we all work for money, because you know that.
Well, that's it. You've got to live, don't you? You've got to
live,
pay your bills.
Yeah, but those rewards don't always have to be in the financial. It can be more about that value in you and taking care of you.
Well, absolutely, and
things like that.
Absolutely.
So.
I mean, even in the teaching profession, we only get paid 32.5 hours. So it's not about the money. No. It's not about that. You know, we can't work overtime. We don't get anything like that.
Yeah.
Yes, we get holidays, but we don't get paid for them. We only get paid for like everybody else does. Other
Yeah.
than that, you don't get paid for them.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I'd like to think now that they're starting to look after, I don't know if it's just my academy
Yeah. Yeah.
or whether or not it is a kind of government push,
Yeah. Yeah.
that mental health has a massive impact in productivity
Yeah. Yeah.
within the workplace, and that get the mental health right if you're people who work for you,
Yeah.
and you're going to have a successful business.
Absolutely, yeah, totally agree. You know, and if people will take some time out of their budget or their profits and invest it back in staff and the
Yeah.
welfare of staff,
Yeah.
you know, as
Because,
you say,
like I've just said and explained there, it's not just work issues. Everyone's got their own personal life as well, and
Absolutely.
everyone goes through
yeah,
ups and downs. I mean, like I said earlier, we lost my dad last year.
yeah,
You know, well, my sister lost Andy, and then 10 months later, my dad died.
yeah,
And then I think it was about 2 months after that, my brother's marriage broke down. And within a year, there was a lot going on within the family, you know.
yeah,
And I think that's another reason why for now I was getting over that kind of side of things as well.
yeah.
Because that went on for a little bit.
Well, I mean, in regards to your dad, for example, you know, there's bereavement affects us all in different ways. Everybody's grief's unique to them,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
so, you know, so there's all of that sort of stuff, and then, you know, your sister and her partner, and then, you know, even your brother, you know, there'll be some grief around losing of a relationship.
Absolutely. It was kind of like within a year,
Mm-hmm.
me, my mum, my sister, my brother nobody had a partner.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't in any way, but them three didn't. Like everyone was
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, big changes.
Massive, huge changes. And you know, this time last year, I think if I had had this conversation,
Yeah,
my mental health wasn't good then.
yeah,
I was just, well, I was heartbroken.
mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't even put a Christmas tree up last year,
Yeah,
but I feel different this year.
yeah.
But that's grief, isn't it? It's a time.
That's grief.
It's just time and how it is, the first of everything and whatnot. And life's hard sometimes. Life
Absolutely.
is hard,
Yeah,
but you know, if there's one advice I'd give to, you know, the listeners is, if you are feeling any of the ways that I've described, go and get help. Go and it's not, there's no shame in that. Just go and talk to someone who's impartial. Go and look after yourself, look after your mental health, because, you know, like I say, I'm a different person now, but for the positive.
Yeah,
You know, I have been through a lot, but I think that I'm a bigger person because of it, and I'm glad that I took the advice of different people and got there in the end.
yeah, and I think that's, you know, this story that you shared today it's been fascinating to listen to, and all of the ups and downs. I think one of the key moments is, you know, you're saying about sitting with a glass of wine with the girls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when you're seeing somebody who's impartial,
100%.
that invested in you as their client, but they're not invested in you emotionally.
No.
You know, it's a very professional relationship, and if there's a perspective where it's really, let's have a talk about that.
Yeah,
and you
100%.
kind of go, oh,
Yeah.
never thought about that, but it brings it all back round to
And I honestly,
helps,
I
doesn't
totally
it?
agree, because let's face it, whenever there's let's go back to the breakup, the me, you, him, there's, you know, their truth, your truth,
Yeah.
your version, their version, and the truth,
That's
isn't
it.
there?
Three
Do you know,
versions,
there's
that's
three
what it is.
versions all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time. So to have someone impartial to that, to sort of think, well, actually, this, that, and the other, and it makes you think, because like I say, when you are sitting with your friends, they're all for you.
Absolutely.
He's
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
he's that, and on the other side it'll be the same. She's this, she's that, you know. And to me, that gets you more wound up,
Yeah.
more kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
And I think just having someone else's advice, impartial advice, and also someone who has trained in it as well.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's that challenge to say, well, you're saying this, and you've said it 3 or 4 times now, but is that really true?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you know, there's that sort of, as you say, that relationship side of things, but then there's maybe some of the stuff you've talked about in regards to work, you know, and maybe somebody sitting down with you saying, do you really think you're a bad teacher?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, you
Yeah.
know, and getting a bit of that belief back in.
And that's it.
And things like that.
And like I said before, you know, life's hard. Sometimes it does beat you down.
Absolutely.
But it's how you get back up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and using the right tools to climb back up as well.
Yeah. You've got to find what works best for you, which is, again, what we touched on, you know, be that yoga, meditation, a male swim in a freezing cold lake.
Absolutely. I mean,
whatever it might be.
That's it. I mean, for me, for my journey, I've done CBT, I've done one-to-one counselling a few times. I do meditation, I do gong bath, I go for walks. That's what works for me.
Yeah.
And it took us a while to find that, but I found it.
Yeah. And that's the important
So I would
thing,
say
isn't it?
never give up.
Yeah. In regards to self-care, try it. Go into things with an open mind. If you'd have said to me 3 years ago, go to a gong bath, I'd probably have thought,
What the hell's that?
No, I don't want to be in a bath with a gong.
Yeah.
And then you explain it, and it's like,
It's just a room, isn't it?
You go into it with an open mind, and it's actually quite a nice experience. I found it quite relaxing and things like that, you know. So, but you go into these things with an open mind.
You have to.
Absolutely.
You think, oh, that's not for me. But you tried it.
Yeah.
You give it a go.
That's it. There's so many things out there though now in regards to that, and it's fantastic to hear that you've found what works for you.
Yeah.
And your self-awareness is so much better, you know, and it's great to hear that.
Yeah,
story,
and I think that's what it's about. It's being that self-aware.
Yeah.
And knowing that you're only human.
Absolutely.
And that we do wake up some days and we are on the bottom, but it's how we can improve that mindset.
Absolutely. Mindset can be a huge thing. Absolutely.
We did a lot of that work, actually, growth mindset as well.
Yeah.
We did do a lot of that.
Yeah, as opposed to the fixed mindset, having the growth mindset. Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to hear that those things are now more public, if you like, and the mental health conversations continuing to grow and grow and grow. And it sounds like the academy that you're working in and the organisation you're attached to is really, really positive about it all
definitely,
as well.
Definitely. I think, like I say, I think they do realise that, having mental health issues can be long-term sick.
Absolutely.
A long time.
Absolutely.
So making sure that things are in place to prevent that is beneficial for them and the person who's involved as well.
Yeah.
So it means they're not going to have that dip.
Or best to have that short period, short break for the self-care before things get out of control and potentially you lose a very good member of staff and a very good person from the school or even from the profession, you know. So it's all good from that perspective. That the mental health conversation continues to grow. So
definitely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, don't suffer, go for it.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed talking about it, and I hope it all made sense.
It certainly did, and those ups and downs and stuff. So I really do appreciate your openness, your honesty, and sharing. And I'm sure when people listen to this, I'm sure it'll strike a chord with more than one person. But even if it does help that one person, that's the whole point in this.
I hope so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much, Phil.
No, thanks very much. And you take care. We'll speak soon.
I will do. Thank you.
Thank you.